Good morning, all of you. I welcome you all to Ansarkari. So let's start with today's discussion that is going to be for 8th of January 2023. So firstly, we talk about the bridges that are made using the roots of trees in the state of Meghalaya. And it is a traditional practice of building root bridges. So these are called root bridges. And in this picture, you can see a bridge that is, you can see it has been made through the roots of this tree, and it is connecting the Umkar River. So basically, it is being made over the Umkar River, which is there in Cherrapunji. And the tree that is used is the rubber fig. So the bridges that are made, they are made using the rubber fig trees roots, and it almost takes 30 years to build such strong bridges because it takes time for these roots to grow. And Meghalaya is known for its root bridges, and which are locally known as Jinkring Jri. So this is their local name, and many bridges across the state, they are over a century old. So since they take longer time to be constructed and to get completed correct to connect two piece of, we can say, land over a river. However, the benefit is that they are very stronger, and obviously they would definitely last long, and they definitely help in overcoming the natural calamities, especially in the state of Meghalaya, which is prone to floods during the monsoon season. And definitely, they feed into the idea and practice of sustainability. So, you do not need any concrete material to get them constructed. So, that's how they become important and definitely an example of sustainability. Then talking about the Citizenship Act. So the CAA was not implemented, but it was passed by the Parliament in 2019. But it has still not been implemented because the rules have not been framed, and yet again, the Home Ministry seeks another 6-month extension to frame the rules related to it. So, this is the seventh such extension that has been sought by the Home Ministry. And basically, this Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, it fast tracks the citizenship of people from Hindu, Sikh, Parsi, Christian, Buddhist, and Jain communities from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh who had entered India before 31st March 2014 without any documents. So that is the purpose, and most parts of the northeastern states, they are exempted from this act. So that is there, but it lacks effective implementation, which can be seen. Now, talking about the steel frame of India, that is talking about the bureaucracy, and here we are talking it in the context of the IS officers. So recently, we can say the dignitaries, we can say at the panel, they were discussing on the title that has the IS failed the nation. So that was the we can say the title on which discussions were held, and we see that IS officers, they are vulnerable to political pressures, which affects their autonomy. So the biggest problem the civil services is facing is the lack of courage among the bureaucrats. And we can say that these are different points of view that were visible in this meeting. And we definitely IS has played a crucial role in nation building, but there are problems. So we cannot say that IS has failed the nation. They have been steel frame of our country, and they continue to play crucial role in nation building and strengthening democracy, fulfilling the aspirations of the common citizens, the common people at the ground root level. But there are certainly there are some problems and challenges that needs to be addressed. So the most important question is, are the reasons for the rusting of the steel frame external, or are they internal within the civil services? So there is one point of view that the biggest threat to the civil services lies within the civil services framework, that is lack of courage and fraternity among the civil servants to follow the rules and regulations followed by our predecessors. And there is definitely problem of corruption. We cannot say that the entire network is corrupted, but yes, there are, we can say, some black sheeps, and there exists nexus between criminal civil servants and the politicians. So the purpose here is not fulfilled, and This has also been addressed by the Vora Committee in 1993. So, a culture of conformism is being promoted, and we have to be wary of this thing also. And another crucial problem plaguing the IS is that of autonomy and accountability. So, it becomes important to maintain your political neutrality from the very beginning so that you are able to fulfill the purpose, you are able to serve your country selflessly. And as and when the political representative does not find the civil servants compliant or a convenient person for him, so the civil servants they get transferred. And there's no problem in transfer because you need to be mentally prepared that if you're going to the service, if you are there in the services, and if you really want to serve the country, so you should be prepared for a transfer anytime. So that is there. And let's move ahead. Then talking about manual scavenging. So the main reasons highlighted by this article behind this practice of manual scavenging is poverty and caste-based discrimination. So this is as per a study that has been conducted by the state of Tamil Nadu. And uh, so here we look at what are the different point of views of the manual scavengers that were covered and recorded under this study. So people say that they know it is an inhumane and demeaning job which is rooted in caste-based discrimination and passed on to successive generations. But the sanitary workers they continue to undertake manual scavenging as employers exploit them, and at times they are also cruel as well. So despite all these things, they continue to do this, and the workers, the women especially, they continue to do so as to sustain the family. They do not have any alternate livelihood opportunities. So it becomes important to ensure alternate opportunities for them so as to sustain their families. And also it is important that they feel that they are doing this and they are following this thing so as to ensure that they enable their children to get educated so that they do not have to do this thing in future. So they see that if they are basically if they are able to they are successful in providing education to their children so that in future they are not able, obviously they'll not have to dependent upon doing manual scavenging in order to survive. So the parents feel that the scrounge will end with them. So that is the perspective that the manual scavengers have, and that's why they are following this. But according to, if we look at the data, so data from the National Commission for Safai Karamcharis, in the last 29 years, we see a total of approximately 1,000 members. They have died in various parts of the country because of this demeaning practice. And Tamil Nadu has reported the highest number of deaths. Then workers were made to work in most hazardous way. There are not enough, there is not enough, we can say, infrastructure and equipments like protective gear and technology support, and they continue to do it manually. So there is a need for complete mechanization. We need machines to do this thing and not human beings, because obviously this leads to violation of their human rights, their fundamental rights under Article 15 and Article 21 of the Constitution. And also, even despite Supreme Court banning it in 1993, we see that still this is being practiced, and it is openly practiced, and there is no, we can say, there's no step taken in its aftermath in order to ensure that such instances, not even a single instance, should happen this in our country at a time when we are progressing ahead so much. So why such things and why such practices are being uh, happening and why they are still visible? And also there is an, we can say, a legislation was also passed in 2013, that is the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act. So we can say that if this practice is still being practiced, which is the reality, so we can say that this act has failed in a sense because it has not been effectively implemented, and the benefits they have not reached to the beneficiaries. And these things, obviously it requires important attention, and this is very crucial to be addressed. Then talking about bird flu, which is, we can see, we are seeing cases in the state of Kerala. So we see that frequent outbreaks of avian flu in Kerala, it have critically hit the poultry industry and the livelihood of hundreds of farmers there. So, 5 outbreaks they have been reported in the last 3 or 4 months alone in the state of Kerala. And contact with the migratory birds is the likely trigger for the current outbreak. So, there is a suggestion that there is a need to carry out a study to identify why that such frequent outbreaks are happening in the state of Kerala alone. And investigations are required on whether that contamination occurs through the soil or through water. And we definitely need to check whether there is any change in salinity in the pH of water and soil over the period, which can be one of the possible factors which is causing such frequent outbreaks of bird flu in Kerala. And Kerala's wetlands, which habitats more than 80% of the duck population, they are under threat due to this outbreak. And Kuttanad area in Kerala, it is a Ramsar site and it is under constant threat of avian influenza. And there is no effective vaccination against this bird flu, and it spreads mainly through the migratory birds. So that is the situation as of now. Then talking about the village defense guards. So in the aftermath of the militant attack in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, fresh weapons, mainly .303 rifles, they were distributed among the volunteers, and an assessment of their training was also done. So in the picture you can see them, and these VDCs, that is the Village Defense Committees, they were constituted back in 1995 in the 10 districts of Jammu region, where militants they carried out massacres of members of minority communities till 2006. However, with the decline of militancy instances in Jammu region and such attacks coming to a naught, so the previous regimes in Jammu and Kashmir, they decided to disband such VDCs and withdraw weapons from the volunteers. However, this time the Union government in March 2022, it hinted at re-establishing the VDCs with a new name. That is, they'll be now called the Village Defense Guard. So their purpose or their motive is to ensure the safety of the region in which they are living, so that if there is any attack by the militants on the civilian population, they can take care of the situation before the arrival of the security forces there. So that is the main purpose behind the village defense guards. Then talking about the Modi and basically prime ministers and the state chief secretaries meeting, which was held recently. So they saw discussions on the center-state relations and issues such as the status of the MSMEs and the functioning the GST regime. Then there was the meeting. It was, you should be knowing that it was chaired by a prime minister, and he also said to take proactive measures to formalize the MSMEs, and focus should be on enhancement of the cyber security also. So there were different issues and the major things that were discussed. So we are just going through what all it included, and the significance of the International Year of Millets and the steps to enhance the popularity of the millet products were also taken up. And Niti Aayog organized this conference of the chief secretaries with the prime minister. And prime minister, he also said that in order to build a developed country, developed India, the country is focusing on 4 pillars. So you can cite this in your mains answer, that what are the 4 pillars on which we are focusing upon. So that includes infrastructure, investment, innovation, and inclusion. And prime minister also said that you should launch the aspirational block program instead, on similar lines as we had the aspirational districts program. So that should be the case, and that's how we should move forward with more micro planning. Then we see that Navy signs contract for autonomous armed boat swarms. So Indian Navy has signed an agreement with the Saga Defense Engineering Private Limited for armed autonomous boat swarms under the Sprint initiative. So this is an initiative to promote development of niche defense technologies by the domestic companies. So this is in the context of promoting Make in India campaign also. And these boats are going to be the unmanned boats, so they are going to be autonomous in nature. And you should be knowing about the Sprint initiative. That is the important point. Then talking about the Dipor bill that is there in the state of Assam, and it is the only Ramsar site in Assam. So it is, we can seeing that The site is troubled by development projects and urban waste, and the wetland, it is located on the southwestern edge of Guwahati, and it is there in the state of Assam. So, looking at another finding that is talking about the bird count in the state's sole Ramsar site, it revealed greater species diversity and an increase in the total number of species have been recorded as per the study. So, that is a progressive development, we can say. That is the important thing that we should be knowing about. Then in science, we see, so here we should be knowing that mercury is a superconductor of electricity. So we see that at very low temperatures, that is also called the threshold temperature, the solid mercury offers no resistance to the flow of electric current, and its superconductivity can be explained by the concepts of the Bardeen Cooper Schrieffer theory. So you should be knowing that mercury is a superconductor of electricity. That becomes important. Then in FAQ yesterday also we talked about the Pakistan's economy, and we are seeing that its forex reserves are depleting, and so they have taken a step that you need to shut your like markets at a particular time early in the evening in order to ensure that you are saving some energy and you are able to last longer. However, this is a short term step, it is not going to help Pakistan sustain for a longer time period. So it also expects that Saudi Arabia can help the country when it comes to providing forex reserves. But in the long term, Pakistan will have to reduce its defense spending and look to having a long term robust trade or energy relationship with all its neighbors, especially India, to fix its economy. And talking about the India China standoff in the Yangtze region, so, as per a study, we see that what has been the major reason behind the standard. So, it was infrastructural development. And what lies ahead? So, China's rapid infrastructure development along with the border, it has created an escalation trap for India. So India's responses has been to increase its vigilance across the border and readiness along the border. So that also includes surveillance. So that's how we have countered to China's, we can say, clashes. And as large numbers of Indian and Chinese outposts, they continue to compete for the strategic, operational, and tactical advantage at the border, propelled by new infrastructure. It's important to pursue non-military and multilateral measures in parallel to reduce the risk of accidental escalation. So in future, we need to focus more upon promoting and pursuing non-military and multilateral measures so that such incidents and such border clashes are not there in future, and also to position these incidents as a significant threat to peace and order in Indo-Pacific. So India should seek and receive support from also the international community to call out China's provocative behavior on the border, and continued escalation, including the potential of more serious clashes along the LAC, could become a major driver for broader tensions in the Indo Pacific. So, it can also spill over in the form of tensions in the Indo Pacific region if this thing is not tackled and dealt with today. And that is, we are seeing that it can potentially lead to more clashes and we can say more tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. So we need the support of other international communities and also need to engage in a non-military and multilateral manner with China. Then on the business page, India is looking at a multilateral pacts that are fair and equitable for all. And India is competitive in labor intensive sectors that would benefit from these pacts. So, what are the labor intensive sectors? It includes textiles, leather, footwear, and pharma. So, these sectors are going to benefit from these multilateral and also the bilateral pacts. And we see that government has decided to talk to like-minded countries, particularly those that have rule-based trading order, which are transparent in the functioning and economic system as India is. And India has implemented free trade agreement with the UAE in May 2022 and in December with Australia. And we are in talks with implementing such FTAs with countries like Canada, UK, and European Union. And talking about the RCEP, so India decided not to join RCEP because we found it unfair and unbalanced agreement, and one of the member countries that also included China has a very opaque trading system, and one of the reason was also that it would be hampering our domestic agricultural sector. Then we talk about the government diluting its stake up to 61% in IDBI Bank through strategic disinvestment. And so the combined share that is 61% is going to be diluted. That is government and LIC stake in IDBI Bank. And it is the which department handles it. So it is DPAM, that is a Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, which handles the strategic disinvestment. And the total share that is right now there of the government and the LIC combined is approximately, we can say it is approximately 95%. So strategic disinvestment, here you should be knowing what do we mean by strategic disinvestment. So it is basically when government dilutes its stake by 50% or more than 50%, where we also say that it is giving up the control over the management, and that is there so as to ensure that it is having enough resources and fiscal revenue to meet the fiscal needs. So that is there, and the main motto we can say behind this strategic disinvestment, which is often said, is that government does not have the business to be in business. So that is there, and yeah, you should be knowing about what is the meaning of strategic disinvestment. So that's it for today, since it's Sunday, so we do not have much to discuss from other newspapers also. So thank you for joining in, Sarkari. I hope you enjoy this session and see you tomorrow.